This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the July the 22nd, 2020 County Commissioners meeting for Madison County. Stand and have our prayer and our pledge. I ask everyone to please mute your phones. Please mute your phones.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We ask you to be with everyone who is suffering from COVID. We ask you to watch over those families and loved ones. And Lord, we ask you for everything in your name for those that are sick with cancer and for other things that are going on in their families. And Father, we just ask you for a special blessing for our military and our first responders. And Lord, we just ask your special blessing upon each and every one of us here, that we may do the best thing for Madison County and it be pleasing in your sight and your eyes. Thank you very much for this day, and may God bless each and every one of us. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, we're getting a lot of background noise. If you would, check your microphones on your phones or computers, please, and mute them. When we open the mics up, I will inform you to let you unmute. As we open, all 5 commissioners are present, as is county manager, county clerk, and the attorney. We're going to move into the adoption of the agenda. I've got a couple of items we need to add. In unfinished business, I'd like to ask further discussion on the CARES Act funding. Number 5 in unfinished business. In new business, item number 7 will be following after Chief Clayton's talk. We'll discuss the possible school assistance payment for EMS fire service. That'll be item number 7. Item number 8, I'm going to ask Clerk Mr. Billy Washington to discuss our insurance quote that he has now and discussion on that. Item number 9, we'll need to set a meeting date for a tentative budget hearing. Do you have any other additions or deletions to the agenda?
Move adoption of the agenda.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Martin. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 5-0. At this point, we're into the commission's petitions from the public. Please note you will have a 5-minute limit. I will notice you at 4 minutes to give you a chance to do your last-minute closing. We have some items on the agenda further down that I know will have some people wishing to discuss. If you wish to wait at that time, I will open the mics on those when we're discussing those particular items. At this time, do I have anybody on petitions from the public?
Yes, I'd like to speak.
Okay, if you would state your name, please.
Yes, sir. It's Linnell McAllister.
Okay, Miss Marie McAllister, I understand that.
Linnell
McAllister.
McAllister.
Sorry. Okay, Miss, you have the floor. You got your time. You continue, please.
Well, I'd just like to express my concern about what's happening in the city of Madison. I know it's not your jurisdiction, but Madison is known for its history, and we're in jeopardy of losing an important part of our history. And I don't know exactly what's going to happen with your actions tonight or what your options are, but I just wanted to express to you how important it is to protect and preserve our history and ask your help in finding however you can do to help us protect our history in Madison. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Do we have any more petitions from the public? Once again, do we have any more petitions from the public before we move forward? Hearing none, we'll move to the approval of the minutes from the last regular July the 8th meeting.
To approve as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Morris, second by Commissioner Martin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Vote, sir. Do we have any constitutional officers online? Hearing no constitutionals, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do we hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Moore. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0. Mr. Clerk. We're going to move on down to, we're going to jump past the unfinished business and public works. We're going to go to new business. We're going to go to this is a discussion regarding the Madison County. At this time, I will call on Ms. Kerwin. Ms. Kerwin, are you online? Ms. Kerwin, are you online?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we have you. Ms. Kerwin, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. For those that don't know me, I have lived in Madison County for over 30 years. I'm a local historian and former librarian at the Madison County Public Library, and I serve on the board of directors for the Treasures of Madison County Museum. Mr. Waltrip, you asked me what the county could do in reference to the monument. Right now, we're trying to stop the movement, but if you have any ideas of how the county can help us, it would be greatly appreciated. I think number one would be a countywide protection ordinance that would help protect monuments, memorials, and markers in the county. Other counties such as Lee, Hillsborough, and Dixie County have adopted such ordinances. I don't know for sure if that would have any effect in the city and what you could do as far as monuments in the city. But another thing that would definitely help would be talking to people in the legislature about passing a historical monument and memorial protection bill that would prevent removal and provide stiffer penalties for vandalism. Bills have been introduced for the last 5 years but have been blocked by Republicans from passage. It would be helpful if you could put this on the county's legislative agenda. But even if passed, it would probably not take effect for another year or so and wouldn't help our current situation with our monument here. The only other thing, we don't want the monument moved at all. It's been damaged in the past. There's a possibility it could crumble. But if it absolutely comes down to it, I don't know what the county could do as far as maybe putting it on county property, if that would be an option.
Keep putting them on the spot. Yep.
Okay. Ms. Kerwin, do you have any more to add?
That's about all that I can think of. If y'all have any ideas that could help us save it or something that we could do with it to keep it, one of the options was to move it to the city cemetery, but again, it would be on city property and it would be out of sight, and it was more likely to be damaged and vandalized in a place where no one's watching it. But we don't want it moved at all. That's not, to me, that's not an option, but if it comes to that, would the county be able to help us with that?
Yes, that would have to, we would refer that to our, as it is now, it is on city property, and anything inside the municipalities of the city limits doesn't fall under our jurisdiction as a county commission board. I hate to see any monument of any type damaged or destroyed or moved, but I guess we would have to have the attorney to do some research on that now and not put him on the spot at one time. At this time, I'm going to ask, are there any more petitions from the public? I'm going to open the mics up if anyone wishes to speak before the commissioners pass a comment.
I'd like to speak, please.
If you would, please state your name, please.
My name's Albert Thigpen. I'm a resident of the county and have been for a long time, all my life.
You have the floor, Mr. Thigpen.
I have a concern for the safety of the monument. We need to some way incorporate some fencing, some cameras, or something if it stays in its present place. Now, there has been an offer of some private property out on I-10 and 360 that the monument could be placed there. But again, in agreement with Rebecca, I think the best thing would be if it could stay in the Confederate Park. But we need to look at some security for the monument.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Thigpen. Do we
Thank
have
you.
anyone else that would like to address the board?
Mike McCard, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mike McCard, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Let me thank the county for conducting this meeting in such a professional fashion and making it available so people can actually hear what's going on. I attempted to monitor the city meeting, and I think one of the reasons we're having some community concern is that there's been lack of information about what efforts have been underway to move the monument. And on the same side, a lack of respect for each other as we attempt to move forward. I think a number of us have taken independent initiatives to promote peace and harmony in our community, to avoid becoming a national story over some type of nasty outbreak of unrest. We're better than that. So I would encourage the county to work with the city in every way possible to strengthen the message about what is going on, to promote transparency, and continue to move forward in partnership with the community, recognizing we are all friends and family and longtime residents of this county, and only what's best for the residents and our descendants. Mr. Chairman, I thank you so much for these couple of minutes.
Thank you, Mr. McCard. Do we have anyone else online that would wish to address the board?
Hello, my name is David McAllister. I'm a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. This monument was gifted to the citizens of Madison and the United Confederate Veterans, the actual veterans of the war between the states. Their descendants are the Sons of Confederate Veterans. There are thousands of us all across America, in Florida and in Madison. And we object to moving this monument out of the traditional public square, where it has been for so long. Confederate veterans are by federal fiat and recognition, they are United States veterans. And all honors accorded to United States veterans are to be accorded Confederate veterans. By removing this monument, moving it at all, you are disrespecting American veterans of all kinds. Do not do that. You know, the way we treat veterans of today, the way that we treat the veterans of 150 years ago is the way the veterans of today will be treated 150 years from now. I'm sure all that today's veterans would hope that their descendants would stand up for them like the Sons of Confederate Veterans are standing up for their ancestors today. So please, on behalf of all American veterans, keep this Veterans Monument in its public forum. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any more petitions from the public on the phone? Do I have any more petitions from the public? Hearing none, Mr. White, would you wish to address the board at this time?
Sure, sir. Did you want to, I think you'd ask the attorney first or something, I don't want to.
I think we were gonna have him do some research, or are you willing to speak to that now, sir?
I can.
If you would, please.
Mr. Chairman, the monument is, on the city park. The city controls its park. You would not, in my opinion, you would not have an ability to do an ordinance that would prohibit the city from doing what it would like to do with its monument and its park. Under Florida law, the county ordinances are not effective within the city to the extent the city has a conflicting ordinance. So if we passed an ordinance, the city commission could, of course, pass it. Otherwise, it would. So I don't think I think the only thing, if this board wishes to try to affect that situation, I think all you could do would be to contact the city commissioners and try to talk them into some different action if y'all care to. But I think that's the extent of what can be done. I don't believe the county has a role to play in that as far as that city.
Okay. Mr. White?
Thanks, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Jerome White, City Manager, 321 Southwest Rutledge Street, Madison 32340. One of the things that I do to maintain my sanity is to remain neutral, and we are in fact with some challenging times. One of the things that I do recognize is that most local governments, both the county and the city, are elected officials. You, along with the city commissioners, are elected to make decisions. Some of them are hard and some of them are not so hard. But at the end of the day, and I've been receiving several phone calls asking me to try and persuade them to change their vote. Well, number one, I have no power. Number two, I'm appointed by the city commissioners. And my walking papers and points are to get it done. And so being a loyal employee, then I'm doing that. The city has voted 3-2 to have the statute removed. And I'm doing the research to make sure that happens. We don't have a time and a date. But as soon as we get that, we're going to proceed. Responsibility to me. Now, one of the things that I do have a little concern about is the protection for it, but I think I've got some answers to that. I spoke to the sheriff this morning along with the chief of police, and we are on board to make sure that we'll do the surveillance of the statute. That's 24 hours around the clock. We're also going to resort to some advanced technology, and I won't share with you what that is, but we'll have the capability to monitor that 24 hours a day. And it's also to be recorded. We can go back and rewind it if anything should happen. The second part is, in the event that we have outside sources that come in to do the statute damage, we hope it wouldn't happen. But the sheriff made it clear, the chief made it clear to the callers, if people break the law, then the law is going to be enforced. And that's on either side. The tasking is to move it, and if they're able to prevent it from being removed, then you're breaking the law. And if someone comes in with the intent to do some damage to it, then you're breaking the law also. So those things are clear. But the other part of that is to make sure that people remain calm. I know that we've been alone for a long time. It's not the point of getting alone. It's a point of what the commission has decided. So it is that their choice, and they have voted. And so that's my be glad to answer any questions I may.
I understand your position. I had a conversation with the sheriff earlier. We have in the budget meeting, and he wanted to make sure he had told me he had talked with you, and he and his staff are diligent as far as surveillance goes, and they will enforce the law to the extent of the law for whatever infraction this may or may not happen.
Yes.
And he wanted to make sure that everyone knew that he was on board. And I haven't talked to the chief yet, but I'm sure he's the same way.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody else have any discussion for Mr. White while he's up?
Chair, I got a comment.
Yes, sir.
Due to the fact that we live in a diverse society like we do, and if I had to give our society a grade as far as race relations, it'd be probably about a D-. Something that we have fallen short down through the years. But as a suggestion, if y'all, or when y'all decide to relocate the, statue, I went to Oak Ridge Cemetery today. There's about 100 Confederate soldiers that are buried there. When you all decide to move it, that would probably be a good location for it.
In fact, Commissioner Moore, we've got several options, that being probably one at the top of the list. Here is what is not being said. There are names on that placard that's on the very bottom of the base. And the purpose of the placard is to rever the people whose names appear on it.
Right.
Now, if you took the placard off, the soldier doesn't mean anything. Or if you took the soldier off and left the placard, then they're still being revered. So the options are to remove the statue, or number one, or find the best option to place it. It is big, it's heavy, it's made of marble. We thought about the treasurers of Madison County being able to receive it. I don't think that the store can support it. We have an offer, Mrs. Thigpen said, I think, if I'm correct, that probably a location in the county that might want to have it erected. There are people that would like to have it. Another option is, which just came in 2 days ago, or somebody offered to buy it. The other option is to take the base where the placard is and actually place it in the Oak Ridge Cemetery where the Confederate soldiers are buried.
No.
With some class so that it looks good, or it still serves a purpose. Now, there's a term, or Mr. Attorney, you have to help me out with. It starts with the C. I think the purpose of, I can bring it with me. But the real fact is, there's no one buried there. That's the whole purpose of what the term means. I wish I had it with me. So if we remove the base along with the placard in a location where it serves its purpose, then I think we all have a win-win. But there will be several options on the table, and my chore is to bring those options back to the city commissioners at the August 11th meeting, and I'll do that. So,
Any more discussion from
That's
Mr. Watson?
Mr. Watson, one concern, if you talk about moving to the cemetery, and I respect Commissioner Moore's response, but given, I know that particular area is kind of sloping down the hill, I don't know whether the ground is capable right there of holding that much weight. I don't know how much weight. I'm not. You ain't know more about what the weight of it is, but I'm wondering. You can mount that thing. That would be looked at from an engineering standpoint. Whether how much weight could it hold? Because remember that's right at the edge of the college, and if most of us who are old enough to remember, the college was built on a swamp and moved the swamp across Route 90, but I don't know whether that would affect that particular part of the ground, but I just, it's not, there are other areas that are higher elevation and maybe firmer foundation, but I didn't want to have that foundation.
One thing, we do due diligence to make sure that an engineer is involved, and if the ground is not capable of supporting a weight, then it has to be reinforced with concrete, rebar, and other pieces to make sure it remains stable. So that's consideration also too. It is heavy, and the base is made of marble, and we're going to see if a local or monument maker on Highway 90 can assist us with some ideas, but we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that number one is protected, or number two, that it serves a purpose, but at the end of the day, it does have to be moved. And so I don't know if you have any contact with the commissioners, that'd be up to you. But the vote's been taken, it's 3-2, and so I have my orders.
And that, Mr. Watts. Thank you very much. Any more discussion from Mr. Watts? Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. Any discussion from the board at this time?
I would say that if for some reason it would end up on county property, that I would be in favor of having some protection ordinance in place, not only for that money, but any memorial for whatever purpose it has, and just so you know, looking at what I looked at as far as the definition of a monument was explicitly created to commemorate a person or event or which has become relevant to a social group or part of the remembrance of historic times, whether good or bad. And examples of those, of course, are monuments including statues, war memorials, historical buildings, or other cultural assets. And if it was to come to that, I would certainly would be in favor of that. And I do like the idea of a legislative, put on our legislative bill, or supporting the legislature to protect all the monuments in the state of Florida from this type of stuff going on.
Chairman, if I may, I spoke to Representative Schoaf about that very thing. There was a bill in legislature last year that never came to committee.
Right.
And it's been, in fact, I think 2 years, if my memory serves me correct. But that is highly, Representative Schoaf seems to think it's highly unlikely we're gonna have to get it done on the state law. Even though a lot of people ask for it, the legislature doesn't seem to be in the mood to do that, so that's the message I'm getting.
One of the things that I want to point out, and then Ms. Kervin had mentioned it was a possible protection of monuments in Madison County. And this, we may want to look at enacting an ordinance to protect all monuments, all historical markers from a county standpoint. We don't have that many in the county that's not in the municipalities, but we do have some historical markers that the Historic Society has put out, and we may want to consider doing an ordinance to protect any monument or marker in the county, regardless of what it is, for historical purposes.
That was what I was alluding to in my comments.
Mr. Chair, does anyone know of any monuments out in the county?
That was gonna be my question. How many we got? We got any?
The only ones I know of is historical markers.
The green historical markers, at one time, I know all of us here remember Willie Copeland very well. And at one time, she and Elizabeth Sims were very active in that through the Treasury Man, through the Historical Society. One time, Madison County had more of the green markers you're referring to. State. Now, I don't know whether that is still true or not. This was years ago. There are quite a few, like Councilman, the one in front of the mansion, and there are various ones around the county, but I can't think of any other, to answer Commissioner Martin, I don't know any other monuments or statues anywhere in the county. Some of you that live here all your life may know better than I do, but I can't think of any.
The only ones I know of are the historical ones.
The green historical ones, yeah.
Have any more discussion?
One of the things they're going to do.
If you would, please, please, would please mute your mic.
Donnie, this is Byron Ford. Just looking at the screen, I can tell you which callers they are. It would be helpful, but it's caller 24, 22, and 16 that need to mute.
And unfortunately, Mr. Ford, that we have no way of identifying those callers.
Okay. Moving on to item number 2. This is discussion regarding the agreement between the Tourism Development Council and the Chamber of Commerce. There's been a petition from the from the Tourism Development Council to separate from the Chamber. This time, Ms. Brenda Graham, the chair of the TDC. Brenda, are you online?
I am.
Ms. Brenda, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me as chair to present the packet from the Tourist Development Council and expand on that information. As I'm sure you're aware, this council is made up of persons that you have appointed, 2 of which are elected officials, 3 of which are representatives from entities that actually collect the bed tax that funds this program. And then the other at-large members who have shown an interest in bringing tourists to Madison County. The changes we have proposed are a result of our desire to be proactive in securing more of the tourist dollars for Madison County. The decisions contained in your packet were made after many hours of meetings, consultations, phone calls, and most importantly, votes by the council members. This move is not as a result of personal differences, nor of retaliation. We believe that the TDC administrator must have a single focus, and that is on obtaining visitors to spend nights in the motels, hotels, campgrounds, and bed and breakfasts. The council's new direction is in producing a media blitz for Madison County and partnering with the Chamber of Commerce, if they're willing, to create local festivals. Perhaps they can even apply for grants from the TDC. The end goal is to have more heads and beds, all the while enhancing local businesses. I'm aware that there's a modified counter agreement that the Chamber has produced. I believe that's also included in your packet. Please don't interpret that it came from the TDC. In fact, our chairman of the Chamber of Commerce Agreement Committee was not even contacted nor asked for input in the modified agreement. That agreement does not mesh with our voted upon and approved bylaws, job description for an administrator, budget, nor the Chamber of Commerce agreement. We conducted open and advertised meetings to produce these documents, but there was never a member from the Chamber of Commerce to attend the meetings nor offer any suggestions. Their proposal requests $48,000 be paid to the Chamber of Commerce by the TDC. That's not in our budget. But more importantly, it far exceeds the 10% of collected receipts that the Board of County Commissioners has allowed to be paid for administrative purposes. It's the TDC's opinion that an agreement with the Chamber of Commerce should be a proposal offered by the TDC to the Chamber in order to provide support, not actual control of its administrative functions. Our new budget does allow for a part-time position to be filled by the Chamber of Commerce personnel for the purpose of additional support if needed, and thereby still providing funds for the Chamber. Our goal is not to destroy the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, they've said that they will most certainly survive without TDC funds. Our goal is to partner with members of the community to produce more revenue for the county. That is a win-win situation for TDC, Chamber of Commerce, and all citizens of Madison County. In conclusion, I would ask that you show your continued support for your Tourist Development Council by approving these documents and then guiding us in the direction to hire an administrator to get more visitors into this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda. Also, I have on my list that's already signed in to speak would be Miss Phyllis Williams. Phyllis, are you online?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor, Phyllis.
Okay. All right. There's a terrible echo in there. Contrary to accusation, this request to terminate the agreement between the TDC and the Chamber of Commerce is not a result of any personal agenda or retribution. It is the result of realizing that most TDCs operate under their chambers for very good reasons. I did my research. Of the 15 rural counties with a population similar to ours, only Madison, Jefferson, and Taylor remain combined. Those TDC administrators and directors that I spoke with who had separated assured me that their TDC had grown tremendously, had gained a new respect and support from their community, and still worked well with their chambers in economic development. In a report sent to me by Suzanne Hurst with Florida Association of Destination Marketing Organizations, or FADMO for short, the following advantages were listed for operating independently: improved focus on tourism promotion, faster implementation of new programs, greater community involvement and increased allies in the community, opportunities for advocacy and education tailored to the tourism industry, improved allocation of tourist development taxes to support tourism promotion throughout the county. Our TDC is simply asking to not be under the control of the Chamber of Commerce. Please allow the council members and an employee to run the TDC under the authority of the BOCC. They have very experienced council members with knowledge of the purpose of TDC and how it should function, as well as working knowledge of the county ordinances and the Florida statutes that govern the use of these taxes. Please allow them to run it. I'm quite sure all of you received many more calls from those in favor of TDC and the Chamber staying together than you did from those who are in favor of terminating the agreement between the two organizations. TDC doesn't have a newspaper or an email list to reach hundreds of people to influence them with only one side of this issue. So the ones supporting the Chamber and TDC staying together probably only heard one side, that of the Chamber of Commerce. And that makes those council members who voted in favor of the split look greedy and incompetent for wanting to be independent, to be able to run the TDC as it should be run, to operate TDC as it should be operated, to serve the purpose of TDC and ensure that it functions in accordance with the statute. By operating independently like most other Florida counties, the TDC could grow tourism, in turn bring more spending into the county to grow the local economy. It's been proven in counties that have separated that the chambers and TDCs work better together when operating separately. It's been said that the TDC and the chamber have worked well together in the past. No, it hasn't. Since combining the two organizations in 2008, there have been 4 different executive directors. That's 4 directors in 12 years. It does not work. TDC gets lost in the responsibilities of the chamber. And with the recent revised agreement submitted by the chamber chair, TDC would once again take a back seat to the Chamber of Commerce. None of the people, including the 2 TDC members who worked on that agreement, have much experience with TDC. Also, the process they used, as Brenda mentioned, was not in compliance with the TDC bylaws, since neither the chair of the agreement committee nor the TDC chair were notified to be present. They apparently refused to recognize Brenda Graham's authority as chair of TDC. I'm afraid this behavior will continue as it has since last December or before. The agreement submitted to the TDC chair was created in advertised meetings, gatherings by committee members appointed by Brenda, and open meetings in compliance with the bylaws. With the pressure from phone calls from your constituents, the easy thing to do would be to vote to keep the 2 organizations together, but it's not the right thing or the best thing for TDC or Madison County. To reach its full potential regarding tourism, the TDC needs to operate independently. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phyllis. Next up on my list, I have Eddie Bell. Eddie, are you online, sir?
Yes, sir, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I've got you, Eddie. You've got the floor, sir.
Thank you. I'm Eddie Bell, the mayor of Lee, a former Chamber of Commerce board member for almost 10 years and current Tourist Development Council member. Thank you for this time to speak. And I won't take much of your time since I expressed my feelings at the last county commission meeting I showed you some of the false information the chamber had been spreading throughout our county by mouth, emails, and newspaper articles. I want to address where the chamber has been saying this is a personal vendetta, and they have taken stabs at me on several occasions. I want to make it clear, this has never been personal to me. I love the chamber, but I do not support their activity that has been going on since December of 2019. We have heard several times it was a 5-4 vote. It was. But is that any different than a 3-2 vote by your commission? Or even a 51 to 49% vote in an election that takes a majority vote? Do we ignore what the majority of the Tourist Development Council members voted? In this case, individuals you appointed, we have voted to do something. Do we ignore that? As an appointed member of the Tourist Development Council, I feel I was appointed to look out for what is best for the Tourist Development Council in Madison County. And that is what I'm doing. I just want to say that voting against the separation of the chamber and TDC is saying that what has benefited 57 of the 67 counties in Florida is not beneficial for Madison County, even though those counties have increased their tourism and tourist tax dollars since they made the change. Voting against the separation is saying you support the unethical behavior of some of the chamber board members. And voting against the separation is saying you value and trust the Chamber of Commerce Board over the Tourist Development Council. The council is appointed by you as a commission to make decisions on how the tourist development of this county is run. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do we have any more phone comments? Do we have anyone else on the phone that wishes to address the board?
This is Ina Thompson, and I was on the speaking for the TDC. Can I have the floor?
Yes, Ina, you have the floor.
All right. I'm Ina Thompson, and I'm a member. I'm appointed from the city. I'm a member of the TDC board. And I was one of the votes to not split the TDC and the chamber. In the past few months, the two boards have started working together, which is the way it should have been all along, planning more festivals and events for Madison. With what's going on, not only in our community, but in our country, we need to be working together, not thinking about dividing even more. I am very excited about the members of the chamber board. This board seems to be hands-on, moving forward, not just being satisfied running things the old way. I have been on the TDC board now for about almost 2 years, and I see that board has the ability to be more active, to be a more active board now than it has been in the past. The executive director was the only common denominator between the two boards. There were no updates from the director on what the chamber was working on, and I bet it was the same way with the chamber meetings. How can we work together if one doesn't know what the other is doing? But in February this year, the chamber board members started coming to TDC meetings, and for the first time, I saw both boards finally want to work together to improve our community. But that's when talk of the split came up. Since then, some of us have learned that the split talk started way back in October of last year. As a past member and president of the chamber years ago, I can't say I was aware then what the TDC board had to do with events in Madison. The TDC does play a very important role. As a former business owner, I was not a fan of the chamber. To me and others, they were a group that organized down-home days and a banquet, and what else did they do? But by seeing what both boards are working toward, I have a great feeling about what can be accomplished. But we need to do this together, not as a split. So with working as one, we are organizing a fall festival that I think is going to offer something for all ages and be a great addition to annual events in Madison. Once the chamber hires a new executive director, which will hopefully move the chamber and the TDC in the right direction. One of the functions of the board is public relations, but they also need an operating budget, which means having fundraisers. So we need for the support of TDC funds to keep the chamber open. If there is a split, I see the chamber doors possibly closing in 6 months. And by this action, we're going to go backwards instead of forwards. The two boards have two different functions. The TDC should be the marketing promotion side, and the chamber are the bodies and the idea that make plans work. More than ever, we need to think as one and not divided. In this day and time, we should be coming together, and it's going to be up to the residents of Madison County to help improve our community. These two boards should be an example of cooperation. Yes, the TDC main function is tourism, and the chamber helps with the interest of the city and the county of Madison. With these two boards working together, this can be achieved. The more plans for events and activities we can do together will benefit the entire community. TDC works on bringing tourism to Madison. The county works with the businesses and residents to welcome and hope they can find our community a place they want to tell their family and friends about coming back. So when an executive director is hired, and if there is a need for a TDC part-time position, this is not the only answer. What both boards need to make sure of is that individual or individuals hired understand to follow up on visions and goals of the two boards. We need to work together by calling in volunteers and pulling from the talent we have here in Madison for help. I can see where one might think that two jobs is too much for one person. But one person does not do the job. It takes vision, to the ability to pull and help and pull in help where needed. And believe me, we have people in Madison that are willing to help if only they're asked. I again say to act as one unit and not a split. And also, I know they have mentioned about other counties that have joined as they have split, and they mentioned that there's only a few of us left there. There's a reason for that. We are a rural community, and it is not cost effective for this split. The split would be the worst thing that happens to this community. So that basically, and to comment on some things that have already been said, we have discovered of how this split, like I say, was talked about in October. It has been orchestrated and only presented to the TDC board in February. We were unaware that there was even a split until it was approached to the TDC board. There has been some animosity and all like this, but I still feel that with the split, that it's going to be disastrous for our community. We can work together as a unit. We've got two boards that are becoming very active. You've got excellent members on each one of them, and they have contacts throughout the city, if not the state, on people we can pull in to accomplish what we need to do. So I appreciate your time, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Anna. Do we have anyone else online that wishes to address the board?
Good evening. This is Caitlin Culpepper, the Chamber Board Chair.
Caitlin, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for continuing to entertain and dive in to really understand the ins and outs of this issue and how important it is to our community, even though, as I've stated before, there are a lot more important things that we should be worrying about right now, but this is the issue on the table. The TDC and the Chamber has been working diligently for many, many months to work through our challenges with an end result that would allow us to continue to serve to the best of our abilities with the resources that we have and the volunteers that we all are. Most recently, we have worked with TDC as a whole and individually, as well as under the advice of many of you commissioners, to come up with a plan that would address many, many of the concerns of all that are involved, including the Chamber and the TDC. A win-win and a middle ground and a road that would get us all back to being more productive. The counter proposal that is on the table for the TDC to consider was sent out to all TDC members when we were able to work through a completed draft last week. And it can be found on page 60 of your packet tonight. This proposal includes a dedicated part-time employee, which was one of the main requests of the TDC, increased involvement and collaboration between our two organizations, which we've seen over the past few months to be extremely beneficial, strategic planning, and keeps the TDC and chamber, keeps the funding in place for the chamber. This proposal ultimately gets us all back to work for our community quicker, as it involves a minimal transition period to an already established structure and office and things that we're already doing to serve the community. We're asking you tonight to deny the TDC chamber split, and if anything, table any decision until the TDC has had more time to review our counter proposal and to strongly consider this option and work through any changes that they may have or that the chamber board may have as well. Thank you all for your time.
Do we have anyone else online that would like to address the board?
Commissioners?
Yes, please state your name.
This is Darren Webb.
Okay, Darren, you have the floor, sir.
Good. I'll be really brief. I joined the chamber board in 2017, and then I served for a couple of years and left the board in October of 2019, primarily due to spending more time with my family, but also just could see some things that kind of that just personally didn't want to be involved with, as far as the necessity for change as far as the employees of the chamber, and it's been kind of obvious since then that this whole thing is been pretty much the actions of a disgruntled former employee, and not much more than that. But I will be the first to admit that during my time on board, that there was not much working together between the chamber and TDC. And and as a board member, I will take some blame for that, or previous board member, I'll take some blame for that, but never really heard much from the TDC as well. So there's plenty of blame to go around there. But all that could be easily fixed with just some simple adjustments that I think are being proposed, and were even proposed in part of a workshop right before the meeting that the TDC voted to go forward with the split. There was a workshop that they had made a bunch of suggestions that would probably solve some of the issues, but all that was ignored, and then the split was immediately voted on. But those simple changes, going forward with a split instead of making those simple changes would be like the equivalent of, when your car needs a new starter in which you're going to change the whole engine. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And then kind of the last thing I'll say is that in Ms. Graham's letter to the boards, it says the council has decided it needs to be proactive in securing more tourism for Madison County, thereby producing more revenue. So my question is what has the council been doing prior to now? If they're just now coming to that decision to be proactive in securing more tourism for Madison County, I thought that's what TDC was supposed to be doing all along. And and the fact that TDC is sitting on a pile of money right now that has not been utilized is a I guess a sign of all that. So other than that, Austin Kelly, I just want to be able to dump my trash on Sunday. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb.
Point taken. Do we have anyone else online that would wish to address the board?
Jason Justice here.
All right, Jason, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. Apologize anybody take me walking around here in Disney. I'm with my family on vacation, but I wanted to call in on this subject. Sunday, I had the opportunity to preach for my father for pastor appreciation, and I dealt with a man and a wife as a pastor's team. I use Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter, 9 through 12, where it's talking about the three-cord strand. The writer of Ecclesiastes is telling us something very simple about relationships and how relationships are so dependent and need each other. When one gets in trouble, the other lifts it up. Now, I understand it's talking about a man and a wife, but I can also talk about how I believe TDC and Chambers needs to work together with this. I believe everybody's thought here is for Madison County to go forward. I believe 100% with the TDC and what they promote. I also believe what's happening at the Chambers of Commerce. For the last 5 years, I've had numerous people try to get me to join the board. I finally have done so, and I've come in contact with what I see as a split about ready to happen. That would be, I won't say detrimental, because I believe we have what it takes, even as a Chambers, to push. But I wonder if we split, the heartaches it would take to pull these two organizations going towards one vision. Madison County, we should have one vision. That is to promote Madison County, Madison business, Madison tourists. That's what we're supposed to be doing, working together. The scripture tells us about three-cord strain. I believe today we have to work together. If we don't work together, where's that going to leave us in the future in Madison County? America's already split. We don't need Madison County split. We have many other problems in America. We don't need the split TDC and Chambers. That is just my personal feeling, and I know people that work for TDC. They do a wonderful job. And I now that I'm on the board with the Chambers, I see what they're trying to do. I see what we're trying to do to help the businesses. Let's push forward. Commissioners, we need your help. Help us here. I appreciate what you do for Madison County. Madison Church of God prays for you, and I thank you for what you are doing, pushing Madison forward. God bless you. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed and wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else online that wishes to address the board?
Commissioners, this is Byron Poor here. I just want to confirm with Jerome if you'd like to say something before I address you.
We're going to finish all the phone call-ins first, then we'll have Jerome.
Sounds good. That's fine with me. Just want to clarify a couple things that were brought out earlier. As they say, the devil is in the details, and it was not a vote to split with the chamber. It was a vote to terminate the current contract. And so that is why there are a couple of contracts inside this packet. And I would encourage you that the Tourist Development Council has still a job ahead of them, because this has not even been presented. Their contract to the chamber has not been presented to the chamber yet. And so to rubber stamp any of this is a bit premature, in my opinion, and would ask you to table it for that reason alone, so that they can have a chance to hear from the chamber on the contract presented to them and to give them a chance to respond to the chamber's counter proposal. That's number one. Number two, speaking of some of the facts that Mrs. Graham represented in her statement, that $48,000 to the chamber is more than 10% of the allowed and administrative cost per ordinance number 98-94 of Madison County. She is only partly right there. The chamber is one of the only places, one of a few places that the county and TDC can contract with to spend money, as opposed to the budget that they have proposed that you accept, which will come up for approval in a few meetings, as I understand it. If you accept what they have proposed, then you're going to be accepting more than 18%
And the only way to approve it will be either to reject it, quite frankly, or the only way to approve it would be to pass another ordinance allowing for more than 10%. Outside of that, you are well within your rights to contract with the chamber. She mentioned a number of counties. Washington County, I had a chance to speak with Christy Andreessen, the director of Tourist Development, executive director there. It was interesting because Christy became acquainted with Phyllis Williams in October of 19 at the Sunbelt Ag Expo. And so my question would be, Phyllis was employed by the chamber at that point. My question would be is why was she talking with Christy Andreessen about splitting the chamber and the Tourist Development Council in October of 19 when the conversation hadn't even come up amongst ourselves yet? That's an interesting one. Bradford County is just flat out wrong in the packet that they presented to you. They have the exact same contract virtually in place that Madison Chamber has with the Madison County Tourist Development Council and Board of County Commissioners. So bottom line here is that I think even if you look at the job description on page 50, they're trying to say that their part-time employee, if going through the county, their part-time employee would directly report to individual members of their council. I think just shows a demonstration of how they're searching for what their role is within what they should be doing. Now, I applaud them for that searching. I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think when we work together, that's going to be the best path forward as we both search how we can be better for tourism and local business. And last thing I just want to point out, if you look through anything that they have presented to you, what is strikingly missing is the one thing that they are mandated by statute to do, and that is to develop a plan. Where is the plan? I just don't see it there. Somebody at some point has to come up with a plan for how we're going to effectively meet the goals that are before us. And I would suggest to you, commissioners, that on that basis alone, you should at least table this to have both groups come back together and say, guys, come up with a plan, a strategic vision that's going to be beneficial to Madison County. I think that's the best path forward. I appreciate you guys giving me some time, and I appreciate you giving some earnest consideration to a very important matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more petitions from the public online? Hearing none, watch.
Hi, this is Phyllis Williams. Can I address something that he said?
Yes,
that
quickly.
Byron said?
We have to move on quickly. Yes, ma'am.
Just for one thing, Christy was from Jackson County, not Washington. And the other thing is, I was representing TDC when I was at that event, as well as when I was getting training up in Dahlonega. And during that, we share information about how the TDCs are run. It's just a conversation we have. We're a tight-knit group, which is what Christy told him when he called him rudely asked a question. And so that's all I wanted to say. He's misrepresenting all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Do we hear any more comments from the public? Hearing none, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Jerome White.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I'm not here to point any fingers. Besides Mr. Eddie Bell, I'm the longest serving member on the board of directors for the chamber. One of the things that I do believe is that together we are stronger. If we don't take advantage of the abilities of competent people that can really guide, I think, this effort forward so that everybody wins, but I think we stand to lose an awful lot in terms of forward movement. My position is appointed by the city commissioners, so I have to be there. Part of the concern is making sure that growth is not inhibited, that we promote Madison County, not just locally, but also statewide, nationally, and internationally. We're very capable of doing that. With some recent changes in personnel at the chamber, we we've seen some great things happen. And my belief is, if that split happens, then those things that are on the table right now that could move our entire communities together will be lost. So I would ask the commissioners to consider tabling it, to allow both entities to come back to the table, work out a win-win agreement. I do believe that a separate council of designees should come together and have some impact on both the Chamber of Commerce and also on the TDC. I think that communications gap can be closed, and that being the case, I think we all win. But I think a split right now would be damaging. So that's my personal opinion. We are working from an ordinance that is dated back in 1998. I think. It may be looking, talk about the administrative fees, or 18% versus 10%. And if it is going to be 18%, that's fine. But I think the ordinance probably need to be readdressed. And so those are just some of my inputs. But I'd like to see them remain in the marriage. Divorce would hurt everybody. It would. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll open the floor up for commissioners' comments.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
As you know, my motion to keep the two together was made and seconded and then tabled, requested motion to table it by Commissioner Moore. I would renew Mr. Poore and Mr. White's request, and I would like to ask that my motion continue to be tabled and that the two groups come together and work together to try to come up with some equitable agreement and bring it back before the commissioners.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Good point, but point of order. We already have a motion on the table. Does it need to be retabled or continuance of the?
Well, I'm just reinforcing the table.
A motion to table, the way to handle that is to have a motion to take it off the table. But that's under Robert's Rules of Order. Generally, what this board has done in the past is we called it a motion to table. In reality, it's been a motion to continue. You would say, well, I'm going to have this heard at the next meeting, et cetera, even though it's called a motion to table. I think probably the best way to handle it is treat it as a motion to continue. And if you all would like to continue it to the next meeting, that can be Mr. Kelly's motion to continue it, or you can decide it here, whatever the pleasure of the board.
Continuing would be my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion is made to continue this to the next meeting and a second. Any discussion?
I'm curious as to how much time the two entities need to fine tune this and work the wrinkles out.
Mr. Chairman, you have people on the line, maybe they could answer when they think they can get together.
Yes, sir, Dennis.
Does your next meeting get you past the next TDC?
That's what I need to, we need to make sure that the TDC has an opportunity to meet in the meeting and discuss this contract.
Right. I would hope that both of those groups could get together in one meeting and work out the details.
I think Mr. Chairman, I think the modified agreement which has been proposed is good, and I think it needs to be studied in depth and with both of them, and if they can come back, I would hope that they could meet if necessary, if possible, have a special meeting to try to make sure we can do this by next meeting. Okay. Which is, I believe, 3 weeks, Sherilyn, am I right? Because actually we're 3 weeks away from the next meeting, is that correct?
That's correct, but we don't know when TDC's next.
Well, I know. I don't know. Maybe
I don't have my calendar in front of me.
One thing you could do is continue it to the next meeting following TDC.
Well, okay.
Would you like to?
I will amend my motion to be to
the motion is to continue until after TDC has met.
Second stand.
To our next regular meeting following.
The TDC meeting.
That'll be fine.
Okay. Ronnie, you can.
Yes.
Okay, we're second. Any more discussions on that?
I think, I will say one thing. I thought you asked for comments. I knew you asked for a motion and went right to a motion, but that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
You have a comment?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Hearing no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries 5-0. Next up on new business is a resolution granting continuing area of operation authority to Escambia County Housing Finance Authority to operate TBA program, single family bond and mortgage credit certificate programs within Madison County. Was Mr. Wilkinson going to be online with us today? Mr. Wilkinson, are you online?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. As you know, the Escambia County Housing Finance Authority has operated homeownership and rental programs in the Panhandle for many, many years, dating back to the 80s. And we currently operate in 19 counties, including Leon, Gadsden, Jefferson, Franklin, Gulf, Bay, many, many counties in the Panhandle. And one of the things that has came up, most recently, we worked with Madison County on some rental development bonds. We now are getting interest from our lenders, primarily Capital City Bank, to offer our single-family homebuyer program in Madison County. This program essentially provides first mortgages at low interest rates, along with second mortgage, down payment, closing cost assistance to eligible buyers in the county. It's essentially just very much like SHIP, but the only difference it really is that our income limits are higher and we don't run out of funds. It marries up very well with SHIP because it's another referral option for your SHIP staff, as well as the fact that if you exhaust your SHIP funds for down payment assistance, our program will still be there. There's no cost or obligation to the county. We fund the program, we operate the program, we work with the lenders in your county, and that's the access point for buyers in your county that are interested in the program. What you're looking at tonight is basically what's called an area of operation resolution. And if you'll recall, not too terribly long ago, you approved an area of operation resolution for us to issue multifamily bonds in Madison. This is a very similar resolution. The only thing it's doing is authorizing us to offer our single family homeownership program in Madison County. Again, there's no cost to the county. We've basically have worked with the lenders, primarily Capital City, but there are other lenders that we can also work with just to extend the program to your citizens and make that option available to them to participate in the program. I think with that, I would say, we're asking for you to consider approval of the resolution. And if you have any questions regarding it or the program, I'll be glad to try to answer them for you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Wilkinson on the area of operation resolution?
Commissioners?
Yes, ma'am.
I did reach out to Stephanie Barrington with SHIP at Swanee River Economic Council, and she did echo what Mr. Wilkerson said, that this program will actually work hand in hand with the SHIP program. So there is no conflict or conflict of interest between having both programs available in that.
Okay. Sounds good. Any more comments?
Motion to approve.
Hear a motion by Commissioner Moore, second by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Carries 5-0. We're going to jump back quickly to unfinished business, and we're going to go to the COVID virus update. Ms. Lee Bassford, are you online with us?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
You have the floor, Lee.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. COVID-19 response efforts continue in the county as testing and positive results continue to increase. We have had a slight increase over the past few weeks in requests for PPE. We've provided what we have, what we've been able to receive through the Florida Division of Emergency Management, as well as working with the requesting agencies to help provide them with vendors to reach out to meet their PPE needs.
Emergency management has been granted the PA request, and we have compiled costs and documentation to submit to FEMA for reimbursement. Right now, we're looking at, with the county department and constitutional offices, are roughly around $39,000 in costs so far. However, we got several more departments and constitutionals that will be adding to that total, so we'll keep tracking those as needed. Costs that are not eligible for FEMA we'll add to our list for the CARES spending request. We're working with the school system to get the sheltering adjustments in place for hurricane season. That's an ongoing effort for us at EM. It is my recommendation that we extend the local state of emergency to meet the response efforts of COVID-19. I do have an additional note for the board. Renata Keeling was hired for the emergency management specialist position, and she started on the 13th. She's been a great asset thus far, so please welcome her to the team next time you see her. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Lee. Anybody have any questions?
Larry.
Moving on to Ms. Albritton. Are you online, Kim?
I am.
You have the floor.
All right, thank you. The State Surgeon General has recently issued an updated public health advisory, and that was done yesterday. It advises that all individuals should be wearing masks when out in public and when at work if possible. This is to protect yourself and others around you. It also states that we should stay at least 6 feet away from others and avoid gatherings of more than 10 people. Right now, Madison County reports 484 resident cases and 8 non-resident cases for a total of 492. We've seen a 78% increase since July 8th. 78% increase represents 217 individuals in a 2 weeks' time. Most of our new cases can be attributed to outbreaks in processing plants, correctional facilities, daycares, residential mental health facilities, nursing homes. However, a significant proportion of our increase is attributed to community spread as well. Right now, our median age of positive cases is at 40. In Madison County, we've tested over 4,407 residents. The positivity rate for those that have been tested is at 11.2%. To date, Madison County has tested 23% of the county's total population. The health department's community testing continues. During the month of July, we are conducting regional testing events at North Florida College from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. This continues to be a drive-through testing event. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the police chief and our sheriff for all the support they've given us to help direct traffic flow during these events. The assistance they've provided has allowed us to have a highly efficient process and ability to get people in and out of the line very quickly. So thank you to both of them. I also want to take this time to warn our residents to be very wary of potential coronavirus-related scams. Telephone scams regarding COVID-19 tests results have been reported. Residents have been contacted by callers stating they are with the Florida Department of Health and requesting Social Security numbers and medical information before the caller can provide the results to them. This is a scam, and I want to stress that the department will never ask for your Social Security number over the phone. And that's all that I have, and if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Questions from Ms. Albritton?
Mr. Chair, I have just a comment I want to make concerning the testing. Ms. Albritton, my wife and I decided to go get tested about 2 weeks ago. Of course, the test came back negative. The workers were very professional. I had some reservations at first, but no, she talked me into it. And I just want to encourage everybody to go through it and get tested. And hopefully your results will be negative also.
Well, congratulations on your negative results, and thank you for those nice comments. We've worked very hard to have a very strategic and professional and efficient operations, and to handle the number of individuals that we're having coming through. We're having close to 400 the first time, and then we had 300 the second time, which was last week.
Yeah, we went in the latter part of the day. They were on about maybe 3 or 4 cars ahead of us, and we didn't have to get out, so that was good.
Very good.
Okay. Mr. White?
This is difficult. Ms. Albright and her people are doing remarkable work. I had a citizen or two call a couple of days ago, and the request was to see if the county could mandate the wear of masks. I said, well, you really got a compound problem here, because you're talking about people entering businesses in the city and the county. So you got both two kinds of residents. So if the city passed an order to wear a mask and you had a person come in that lives in the county, well, it's unenforceable. And same thing, vice versa. So I don't know how to handle that. I don't know if it's something that the commission might consider. But that's a real challenge. And I know that other states and counties have done it, but just something to think about. I don't know if you can mandate people wear a mask or not, and then if they don't, how do you enforce it? Right. We spend a lot of time, chasing ants and wild bulls running down the freeway.
Like furry calves.
So anyway, just observation.
I think County Commissioner, Chairman,
Yes.
I think Leon County did mandate it for every business in Tallahassee, if I'm not mistaken. I know I've been over there every day since Thursday, and I know everywhere you go, they want you to sign up, they want you to put your mask on. So I guess it can be done, but I'm kind of like Mr. White. I think it's like herding cats.
I want to echo that Ms. Albritton and Ms. Bassford, both your staffs have worked really hard. I know you're frayed and weather beaten, but we appreciate what you guys are doing. Moving on to next, the renewal of the emergency declaration extension. Motion by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Martin. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 5-0. We're going to go through a couple more items, and we're going to take a short break. Mr. Lonnie, we need discussion regarding the estimated value of the Caterpillar 416C backhoe.
Yes, sir. At the last commission meeting, we did declare, or you guys declared the 416 Cat backhoe that we have as surplus property. I was tasked to attain a possible value of that machine. There's a guy named Don Cutchins that used to operate Midway auctions that are just the other side of Tallahassee. We dealt with for several years with some of our auctions. He's very familiar with the equipment and the value of the equipment and that sort of thing. He does an online auction now. Of course, I think all auctions have to be online because you can't get that many people together at one time. But he did send me a text message that I copied to Ms. Cheryl Lynn in an email. It should be in your packet, that he thinks that backhoe would sell for somewhere between $16,000 and $18,000. Could do a little better if more people were interested in it. As any auction is, it depends on how many people are willing to bid.
Sure.
But based on his experience and the way machinery is moving right now, he feels like it's worth somewhere between $16,000 and $18,000.
I'm going to, while this falls into item number 4 as well, Mr. Clay Blair has expressed a wish to purchase or transfer that machine and funds back over to your department. Clay, are you online, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm here. We sure would like to have the opportunity to get that machine.
Okay. I talked to Clay, and he's assured us that he has the funds available to transfer. And I think, Billy, they've talked to you, and it's just a matter of transferring funds and ownership of the. Okay. Yeah, but we need to figure the price. Lonnie says that $16,000 to $18,000. So when you make your motion, you put a price in there with it for the motion and to make sure it's agreeable to Mr. Blair.
I'll make my motion to be transferred to project 16,000.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Is that, Mr. Blair, will that be suitable with you?
Yes, sir, that would be great.
Okay.
Donnie, you're good?
You're good with
You
that?
good?
Yes, sir. I mean, you go to an auction, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. And, you know, this backhoe stays in the system, so to speak. We never know when we have a major
If I need it,
storm,
I
and
can borrow it.
you may, maybe play a lead. You probably got a spare key to it anyhow.
Claire probably wants you to buy it back.
That could be.
He'll charge you rent.
We'll come back to you.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay. The only other, we're gonna do one more on item number 5. We'll have a continued discussion on the CARES Act, funding. And, I'll start on, I'll ask Sherilyn to help, fill in. The committee met with a company to facilitate, a contractor to help us with the CARES Act funds, to keep us out of trouble, and we met with DSI, and, the proposal that they're bringing back to us, they're a turnkey operation. They will come in and do all the contracts, they will do the oversight, they will vet the, applications and go through the checklist, and when they bring it back to the clerk's office, they've already covered all of those bases for us. They are to be in here, they're gonna have a letter of contract for us early next week, was it, Shirley?
Yeah, they said Monday.
Monday. And at that time,
This is the same group that Lafayette County is considering, going with.
their Mayo's has been doing that. And they will, before the board does anything, they will come and present to the board to answer any questions that the board may have. But this is a turnkey operation, so they handle all process, and their funds are payable out of the CARES Act money, so they would get their funds out of that money. Sherlyn, do you have anything to add to it?
Just one of the things also they would help us do is formulate a plan to be able to present back to the board for approval on how those funds would be dispersed and put back into the community. On that topic, one of the things that we are in need of is an ambulance, specifically an infectious control unit. Our local department does a lot of transport. That is an eligible expense under the CARES Act, provided that it is not a previously budgeted item, which in our case, we have not budgeted for an ambulance, and also that we could take delivery of the item by December 30th. One of the specific items of the CARE Act is it doesn't go necessarily to the end of the year. It's December 30th that the funds have to be expended, not December 31st. Fire Chief Clayton has been in touch with Frazier, who we typically get our ambulances from. He's been in contact with some other people. Even though we technically don't have a plan that's been presented to you all, we have to basically decide if we're going to purchase an ambulance, an infectious control unit with those CARES funds. If we are going to get it delivered prior to December 30th, they have to have our order, our letter of intent by the end of this week. Otherwise, they cannot guarantee that it will be here before December 30th. And I'll let Chief Clayton go over some of the information that he was able to get today, some of the quotes.
Well, while the chief's coming up, I'll tell you that what's happening, and he may be, but they're running out of chassis because the plants are closed, and they're running out of components. And if we go ahead and pull the trigger on this, and we lock one in. Right. If we wait, and if it's not delivered and paid for by December 30th, it's not a.
Is there an encumbrance clause in the CARES Act?
Got to be spent.
Spent,
Not encumbered.
Not encumbered.
It's got to be.
Receive it.
You've got to receive it prior
That was the first thing I asked was, could we prepay for something? Like, no, you got to receive it and have paid for it.
Or at least have the PO set for it and have the money encumbered and set aside. It has to be spent.
No, it's got to be delivered.
You got to get it, they got to get a check.
It's got to be a done deal. So that's why time is really the essence on this.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna add to the check issue. I just secured the last Dodge. If we have this done tonight, I can have it held and start for production tomorrow. Unfortunately, that's the last truck that we found in the United States pretty much. Talked to Ford and there's a few Fords I found in Kansas City, so that gives you an idea of the magnitude of where we're at on this. That ought to give it to you on that. Like literally, there's no trucks in the state because they jumped on it. And Fraser told me today that we have to pay the preference fee to get it, the priority fee to get it delivered by December the 30th, because they're already 6 months out on orders. So that's where we're at with that, pretty much in a nutshell. And the cost of that truck is $211,385.
Motion with that.
I'll say motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Kelly to start the process and letter of intent.
I get sent off in the morning, then.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 5-0.
So may I just inquire before you?
Yes, sir.
Or when the CARES funding applications are circulated, or how will that process work when it speaks to the city? Will everything come to the county and we'll have to go through that process, or Mr. Treasurer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And the county will act basically as a pass-through. We discussed that extensively with this contractor, and what will happen, the city will present invoices to the county. In turn, we will give it to this contractor. They will vet it and make sure it's all okay. It'll be sent to the state, and then it comes back to us. Now, we also will be coming to you with, and I'll let the Attorney Reeves, a contract between the municipalities and the county.
Yeah.
Would you explain?
Because what happens is with this money, especially the federal government retains the right to audit. And so even though it's approved by us and maybe even approved by the state, it's possible that they could come back and disallow it. And so what everybody is doing is the counties are entering into agreements with municipalities that we're going to pass through whatever the municipalities ask us for. But if it gets audited and the money has to go back, the cities will be the ones to pay that back. So it's a total pass-through both ways. But that's what everybody's doing, is what we understand.
Okay, that helps me out.
Sure. And I'd welcome when we have those, the contract group here, the trust board, you're more than welcome to come and sit in on it and pose any questions that you may have from the city, possibly.
Thank you.
Okay?
So they'll be at our next meeting?
We may have were we talking about a special meeting, Sherilyn,
Yes.
once we get the letter in hand and look at it, then call a special meeting? But we haven't come up on a date yet.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're back off a break. We're moving on into Public Works. Mr. Lonnie, I guess I could have left you up there, but you needed the exercise. Lonnie's got a request to fill some vacant positions that he's had at the road department through employees leaving. So, Lonnie, I'll let you.
Yes, sir. We do have 2 vacant positions. One had to leave due to some medical issues, as advised with her doctor, and I had another guy leave unexpectedly. So it's not an addition to our workforce; it's just replacing 2 positions of people that left.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion is made and second. Any discussion?
Who made the motion?
I did.
Ronnie, second.
And these are already budgeted, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, just filling
They're just
positions.
to refill the positions that are open.
Right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Lonnie, we appreciate the work you guys do too.
You're
Pass
welcome.
that along to them.
I will.
We had a huge part of a tree fall down there unexpectedly after closing, and I called Lonnie immediately when I got a call. Actually, my wife watched it fall. Called them up, and they was out there just short time and got it cleaned up, and I knew when I looked at it, it was gonna be a big job, so.
Yes, it was,
Ironically, when we called about getting the limbs trimmed up, we have to trim them limbs
took care of
anymore.
itself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Lon.
Okay, we're going back into new business now. Item number 4, the review and possible approval of the revocable license for the property between Madison County and Northwood Property Owners Association. And we'll turn that over to Mr. Reeves.
Yes, sir. The proposed revocable license is on page 73 of the packet. Previously, the board had instructed me to draft a license for the Northwood Property Owners Association. The license would allow them to use the approximately .457 acre block that the county owns off of Celossia Drive. There's no consideration. They would pay $1, I guess, for the use of it. They would have to have a driveway installed. They would have to clear it. They would have to fence it at their expense. Either party can cancel on 90 days notice. They can't use it for residences or any of that kind of stuff. It's just store materials, that type of thing. And they have also agreed to make us an additional insured on their liability policy. And the certificate of insurance is also included in the packet. That's on page 8. So if the board still wishes to allow them to use that parcel, my recommendation would be to approve the license that is already passed.
Okay.
Motion approved.
So moved.
Who made the motion?
Pick one.
It's Commissioner Kelly.
It's my district.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Martin. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0, Billy. Item number 5 is a review of and possible approval of a bid for the work at the Agricultural Center. If you look in your packets, the bids are broken out. There are actually 3 bids. Shirley, is this the only?
It's one company that bid, but they gave options.
Well, we had asked them to bid the gutter system, downspout separate. So this is the only company that responded. And they got 2 different bids. One is a coating and Band-Aid and a coat with a 10-year warranty. The other one is replacing the roof with a
called a roof hugger.
Roof hugger. So it's a complete roof over with a Gavaloom at 25-year material.
And they have a painted option at 40-year.
Correct. And then the separate bid was $49,800. That would be an additional, whichever one we decide to go with, the gutters, that would be an additional amount. You know, I lean to think we Band-Aided it and Band-Aided it and patched on it and you know, if you're $28,000 to just do a screw replacement and seal it, and then you're back in the same boat again.
Right.
If you go ahead and do the roof hugger, you're finished. You put it to bed and
We're looking at about $20,000 or $25,000.
My motion would be to do the roof hugger. I think we've already, like you said, we Band-Aided. That last big rain we had, we replaced 80 ceiling tiles or 85 ceiling tiles in the chamber office, and it's gonna keep doing it until we, you know.
Your motion would be for the roof hugger and the downspout gutter addition?
Yes.
Okay.
So with that being said, we were going with the Gavaloom, which is a 25-year material workmanship guarantee, or for an additional $4,600, get the paint 26 gauge painted, and it has a 40-year guarantee.
To go with the painted, that'd be an additional $4,670.
And the gutters, downspouts is an additional $2,743 based on the quote.
On that, that's correct. I don't know why the downspout gutter is $49. I guess if we didn't do anything but gutters and downspouts.
Yeah.
But if we do the roof, okay.
Yeah. But with the Gavaloom, the way I read it, and y'all correct me, but the way I read it, with using the Gavaloom metal, it's $49,712. and then you add a 2743 if you're gonna put gutters and downspouts. If you're gonna put the painted level on there, then you add an additional 4670. Or you can leave off the gutters and spouts. I mean, it's a lot of different ways of.
Sure.
And I believe Mr. Ewing is on the call.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is it?
Mr. Ewing, are you online, sir?
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Ewing?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Could you go over these bids with us just a little bit and give us your recommendations, sir?
Well, I definitely would recommend the roof hugger system. As I stated in my my cover letter, it'll cut the radiant heat down tremendously into the building area there, which if you've ever sat in the bleachers there with the sun out, you'll understand how that feels. The painted roof comes with a 40-year material and workmanship guarantee because the manufacturer provides a 40-year guarantee on the painted, because the painted is basically galvalume that's got paint on it. So that's what the difference in the guarantee is, or the reason for the difference. And the reason the gutters and downspouts are less with the roof over is it's less work to install them with a roof over system. We don't have to remove the bottom fasteners along the existing roof as we would if we weren't putting the roof over system on. I think I've lost. I don't know if you can hear me, but for some reason I cannot hear you at this moment. Hold on.
Mr. Ewing, is this any better? Mr. Ewing?
Okay, now yes. Yes, I hear you now.
Okay. If I've done my addition right, if we go with a painted roof with a downspout, it would be 57,125.
That is correct.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? Was that your?
Call question.
The motion was for the 57,125. That's the painted roof and the downspout.
That was correct.
And we had a second by Mr. Martin. Any more discussion? One thing before we vote, we had talked about this, and I think this is an expenditure that TDC funds could possibly pay for because it's a public building used. I think that was one thing that we had discussed.
Yeah, it was, it's not just any public building, it's a convention center, all that you can use.
But I think this building fell under that criteria.
That was my understanding.
Yes, and I'm, given the surplus of funds, I think they could well do that, and they would certainly fall, my understanding of purview, it would certainly fall within that.
I don't know if it was said at the last meeting or not, I wasn't there, but, we're projecting TDC to have about $260,000 in reserve in September. That means the money is there in the TDC.
Yeah.
fund.
Well, I think they've got 231 right now.
Right.
Well, this is something that's good for the county. It's good when it's fixed, it'll hopefully increase the rental and use of that building and just help everywhere all the way around.
Right, the appearance, we've already done $500,000 worth of work on it, and we've got the other half that we were looking at doing for the sole purpose of trying to do something with the building more than just the ag show that's in the last week of February. That's a very, very popular, good show program for the kids, but there's a lot of other things that building can be used for that we're not, it's underutilized, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Okay, questions being called? All in
Aye.
All opposed? Covers 5-0. Mr. Ewing, we appreciate your bid, sir, and look forward to you doing us a good job.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Okay, next up would be Chief Clayton, and he's got us a presentation on the county ISO rating.
Hello again, we'll pick it up again. All right. So to start off with, this is gonna be the presentation of the ISO at the recommendation of y'all. Pretty much I got together with some of the volunteer chiefs. We got their ISO number and also got some recommendations on behalf of ISO on what we could do better. So we'll start off with the first slide.
Oh, I gotta go ahead of
Yeah, you went ahead of it. So pretty much ISO was the insurance service office. They create the fire rating for the fire departments. Also in the surrounding communities. The ratings calculate how well we are equipped to handle fire situations in the community. It provides the rating to the homeowners and business insurance companies, as we have found out. This rating is known as the PCP, the PPC, or the public protection classification. The rating is numerical, 1 to 10. The lower the number, the better the score. So if you have a 1, you're perfect. If you have a 10, you're at the worst. So pretty much the grading structure, are we still there? All right, the grading structure is broken down into 4 parts. 50% of it comes from the quality of the fire department, which entails the staffing levels, which also is certified personnel, the training, and the proximity of the residents to the firehouse. 40% of it, or 40 points, comes from the availability of water supply, prevalence of fire hydrants, and how much water is available to put out fires. 10% or 10 points of it comes from the quality of the area's emergency communication system. Also, you do get extra credit, which is 5.5% or 5.5 points, comes from community outreaches like public PR, public information forums, and also fire prevention and safety education. Also, I'll just add this in here, any area that is more than 5 driving miles from the nearest fire station is automatically rated a 10. Also, if we don't have 4 certified personnel responding to an area or to an incident, that's automatically grounds for 10. If you're 1,000 feet away from a water source, hydrant, pond, anything that they deem a water source, and 5 miles away from a station, that's automatically gives you a 10 in that area.
Can you expand a little bit on what's classified as certified officer? Can you give a little bit more information on what is classified as a certified firefighter?
So pretty much you go through the state's fire training. So you go through either, like we have in the county and at the city, career firefighters, they're certified to level 5 2. Most of the volunteers, I know in Cherry Lake, that's why if you look at the ISO rating, they're lower. They have a abundance of certified guys. So Fire 1, which consists of 206 hours by the state, they take that training course, which is offered online with the state, to get their firefighter 1. So you have your Fire 1 and Fire 2.
So Fire 1 would be classified as
pretty much
certified.
volunteers. Anything else on that you want to build on? Are we on that? All right. Pretty much, and those are the scores. I don't have that on the note sheet, but pretty much in Greenville, we got a 10. I'm going to try to correct that. I'll go back in on the plan a little bit further down. But Greenville got a 10 due to a mix-up. When we did the ISO, we were under the impression that the county was running that. They did it as Greenville Volunteer Fire Service. So I'm going to go back and try and get that rectified if we can. Sermon's got a 9, Hamburg's a 10, New Home's a 10, Lee's a 10, Pinetta's 9, and like I said, Cherry Lake is a 6. And they also have a great water source out there in Cherry Lake. So that helps in Cherry Lake's favor. Pretty much useful info. I'll read off of that because my notes didn't print right. Currently, like I said, we have 8 fire districts with a limited number of response with certified personnel. The ISO recommendation, which I would recommend to me, would be putting everybody up under one umbrella and having a single chief so that everybody can get credit for response across the board. The reason why I say that, a unique situation with Lee and Cherry Lake, and I think a few others, they're their own 501c, so you'll be kind of having trouble getting in there and working with them on that. Also, we don't get credit for the city firefighters that respond out into the county, just food for thought. And also, due to the fire districts, we don't get credit for the certified personnel we have with the county. when we respond. The next one is how we mitigate the problem. So this is what we did in Greenville. Well, hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Also, start off with, as y'all aware, we pay the city a lot of money to provide coverage. As I said in that previous slide, we don't get credit for it, so it doesn't help us none. So I would say, let's look at renegotiation of the county interlocal agreement with the city to kind of put the money where we can use it at. Also, get with all the volunteer departments, how we can help overcome some of the shortfalls in their areas. Like I say, once we identify them, we'll create a plan to kind of help them move forward. The next slide is what we did in Greenville, and that's what I'm gonna present to try to talk to ISO rate over there. Pretty much in Greenville, I put the county personnel on the volunteer roster since we're responding on behalf of Greenville, so we can get credit for the county guys. Also, I've got the crews out doing hydrant upkeep, maintenance, and I have with a new reporting system, I can track data better on who's responding, how they're responding, what they're doing while they're on scene. And also with the COVID and the other ambulance being going all the time in Greenville, we just went ahead and put a third person on the fire truck or the squad down there to kind of help with the fire calls and stuff as they come in. And pretty much by doing that, with 3 people in Greenville and I arrive on scene, that gives us 4 certified people. So that's just a little experiment we're doing in Greenville, per se.
Now, when you say you have to have 4 certified officers respond to a scene,
so you have to have 4 certified, either 4 volunteer, or it could be a combination. It could be 2 fire ones or 1 fire one and 3 career guys that's fire 2 rated. And that's what we ran into. When you get into the ISO study, if you don't have 4 certified people, you automatically attend.
I guess that's what I'm saying. As long as we had 4 certified officers manning a station, not all 4 would have to necessarily respond to all calls, just based on the need.
It's based on it, but you would need, but to get credit if you had a fire incident, you want to show at least 4 people coming in certified. Right here is the city cost, and I broke it down for months, and I think we have a copy of that in your packet. But for right now, we're sitting at $82,000 and 719 cents. That doesn't include the fire inspection that the city does out in the county or any other fees. I put a sample cost. I got several models floating out there. I gave Miss Shirley, I give her one a week just about. But pretty much this is a 3 part-time, full-time personnel with 3 part-time. That'll equate to $164,954.75. If you were to move forward doing that, that's just some food for thought going into the budget times. And also I have another one with 3 full-time, well actually 6 full-time personnel, and that'll equate to $236 and $109. That'll give you 6 fire EMTs. That'll be full-time. The interesting thing is this, for $15,000 more, you can get a paramedic on the side of that, like we're running Greenville. I think it costs us $248 to do Greenville Station. So I think that's pretty much it for us. The rest of it is just a reference where I got my data from.
Chief, one question. If we were to go with that, back up, Sherman, can you back up one slide? Or if we were to go with this template or the other one, how would that affect, how big an area in the county would that affect the ISO rating? Is it still within that 5-mile window?
And I'll go back to say, we appreciate the volunteers we do, and we do have some that are certified. So if we, say we put a crew at the EMS station, and then respond 2 out there and say we go to Leaf, and they got 2 certified people, well, then that'll give us 4 certified guys that we could count right then. So it could impact the whole county.
But that would affect Lee's ISO rating or Hamburg, Lovett.
It will help. It will help us. The other part of that, like I say, the other 40% is water supply. And if we start moving out towards Greenville, past Interstate, south towards Sherman, we don't have the water supply, so there's really not much we're going to do in that area. The saving grace in Lee, they do have a good hydrant system, and most places around the city.
Sure. Mr. Chair, I got a question, and Lonnie, you probably can help with this as far as the dry hydrants. Do we still use those?
They're, as far as I know, they're functional. I'm not sure they're being used. I think some of the problem, Mr. Allen, I could follow up on that too. I think some of the problem is that most of them are in those muddy ponds.
Yeah.
And you get all that into your truck, and I think there are several that are still functional. I'm not sure how.
We'll just go around and test them as we get time.
Okay.
That's the answer to it. You won't know till you try it.
Okay.
more questions or comments for the chief?
Yeah, I talked to Alan, and I talked to Billy, and I talked to Shirley, and in budget time, I was gonna get him to come do a presentation, kind of how to start this up. Still want to do that, but I think it's a good idea, because, you know, we've been talking about just doing this for probably over 20 years, and it ain't happened yet.
Yeah.
We did special assessment in 2017, and we collected money, and we first ain't really doing what we're supposed to be doing with it. You know, we got the money to start, it's just a matter of starting it. If we have a station at EMS, I mean, we could do basically what the city is doing for us. We're paying them $100,000. I mean, we could do that, you know what I'm saying? So,
Well, we're paying them $100,000. How many trucks have we been with furnishing?
4 trucks.
Four
We
trucks.
have a new bus truck, we got 4, pretty much 4 trucks, and we cover the maintenance on it.
yeah.
And we maxed out on that assessment too, didn't
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get the maximum amount.
Well,
And with the fire department, with the city fire department, if we pull them trucks out, they ain't gonna leave them with probably 2 trucks. Yeah. The ladder truck, the county, the city, and the college bought it.
Right.
It's Kyle and the city name, it'd have to stay there. And what other truck? They got an engine, right?
They got the yellow engine.
The yellow engine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are these. So we got the Freightliner, so the engine 3, that's our truck. We have the pumper tanker that's in up there, and we have the brush truck,
Rescue truck.
and the rescue truck.
And the tank, right?
Yeah, the tanker's
And the
out.
tank.
Yeah.
What, I got a call from, one of the local insurance companies here in town, and, one of their insured, I think it actually was in the Lee area, when this rating went to a 10, their insurance went up from $17,000 to $27,000.
I think it was 28.
Maybe 18 to 28.
Yeah,
But it was a $10,000 swing just because of that ISO rating.
Yeah.
So we've got to do something, we're collecting the special assessment for fire, we've got to do something to provide what we're collecting for.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. We've been collecting, we haven't been doing our job, we need to act on it.
And I thank you for putting this together and gives us a little bit better picture of what we're looking at and what we need to do. And that $100,000 a year that we're paying the county, a city, would go a long way on equipping our.
That'll be half of what you need to come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alan, I appreciate it. While you're here, we're gonna go on into number 7. And, there was a proposal to discuss, some, school funding for firefighters.
Pretty much I have expressed interest from a lot of guys in the department, especially paramedics, which we significantly lack. So this was just a way to kind of help them better themselves, but also give us somebody for at least 3 years. I think the average cost of fire school is running between $21,000 and $3,000 at the moment. I did look at my training budget. I did have about $4,500 that wasn't spent yet. It wasn't earmarked for nothing, so I said, well, how about we just do an educational program and have a certain criteria they have to meet before they can get into school, and let them know that if you fail out or leave the county, you have to pay your money back, or we'll hold your last check. But with that being said, if I had a paramedic to go, that guarantees me a paramedic for 3 years, so that kind of slew down our turnover rate. Pretty much in a nutshell, I made the policy one, I don't know if you had a chance to review it, and I also have a contract, so they'll be signing a contract stating that they're aware of the obligation that they're making to the county.
Wasn't it, 1 year for every $1,000?
They have to do it, for every $1,000 they spend, it has to be a year.
That they will remain employed with the county. And if they leave prior to their contract time, then they would forfeit and have to pay back the money, their last paycheck or whatever.
That is correct.
Did Tommy, I'm sorry, did Tommy look at it, your contract yet? Yeah. Tommy said I did let him look at it.
Yeah, I thought we forwarded it over to you.
It was emailed.
I'm sorry.
The city of Madison has had a education incentive program for years, and for all their employees, and that might be a source as well for, I know Clay had reviewed that, but it might be a source of information if there's anything that needs to be tweaked on yours, but locally, I know the city of Madison's had one for years as well.
And one thing,
Go ahead. No,
go ahead.
No, one other thing I was gonna say is I mentioned, Alan, about safety grant, and you can talk about it maybe in the budget time. That might save us some money for starting up on that safety grant.
You know, for the first year, Safer pays 100% of the firefighter salary.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I was when I was in Bay County and starting off. I went to paramedic school. I was a Safer firefighter. So that guarantees them and me for at least 3 years, and at a reduced rate each year, but they did it after the first 100% year they got it, so, it's a good thing. They also have the safer where they can build vehicles and also add on to expand this service in the county. So, that's not a bad option that I will be looking into in the future.
Yeah. You hit on one thing, and I wanted to go back. You know, our volunteers are very important to us, and this is in no way to take care of the volunteer departments. It's to work together and have everybody come together and work as a county unit, whether you're paid or volunteer, but it's a county fire unit. And we want to make sure that they understand that, because you can get some feelings hurt pretty quick with a volunteer. So, you know, we want them to know this is not.
About 10 minutes from now.
Mr.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Can we approve it subject to the attorney's review?
We can do that, or we can table it and bring it back to the next meeting.
You're talking about just the expenditure, not the contract, or are you talking about the expenditure and the contract?
I would say both, wouldn't you?
I'd say both.
Okay, and just give me a chance to review it now.
Can we just table it?
We can.
Could you just make a motion to table it for the next meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you for that presentation. Number 8, you have, Mr. Billy, wanted to discuss a little bit on the insurance, before we get into budget and after some of what the sheriff had talked to us about today as well.
The insurance committee met with Melanie, who is our broker from Brown & Brown, and our renewal, and I think Sherilyn sent this out to y'all, which she emailed to me, and I didn't have it in time for the packet, so I apologize for that, but our renewal rate was 14%, and the committee at the time asked Melanie, hey, go ahead and speak this, you know, so we can bring it back to you guys. Melanie said, basically, our carrier, United Healthcare, Cigna, Blue Cross, and one other major one, I can't remember who it is, but offhand, all of them declined the bid. So that tells you that they were going to be so much higher that they chose to not bid, and so there's that. Now, today also, y'all were here, and I'll say for the public on the phone, the sheriff said, hey, we have our consortium, y'all should consider joining it, you know. If it's y'all's direction, I'll go out and take a quote from FSA and see what they, you know, whoever their carrier is, and see what they want to do. I don't know if it's going to change anything.
No, I recommend getting a quote.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'll get a quote, that's y'all's direction, I'll do whatever.
Basically, as close as possible
to what we currently have.
Yeah.
There's a couple questions, but I mean, I don't know how their consortium works. I don't know if, you know, our consortium works. If we ever do have a good year, we get that money back.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works there. I mean, there's some questions I'd like to know, because I mean, we can move there and not have a good year and get an increase too. So, they seem very happy with theirs. The sheriff seems extremely happy, so.
I think if you'd reach out to them, at least give them a chance to bid, see, and get some questions answered, and just bring it back to us if you would, Bill.
I will do that.
Also, then on number 9, you had talked about maybe setting a date for a budget workshop.
So what this is every year y'all have to have a public hearing to announce your tentative millage rate, your tentative budget, and you have this would be the first one of those. We have to wait until the school board sets theirs, because they hit first dibs to do that, and then we have to set ours, so we had to wait. The day that we're looking at, and we would like to do, is for September the 9th, which is a Wednesday. This meeting also can't be before 5 o'clock, it has to be after 5 o'clock. That Wednesday happens to be a board meeting for you guys, but it's a morning meeting. I didn't know if, we're restricted by the number of days from some other date. You know, we have to do it within 50 days of something. So this was one of the days we could do it. I don't know if y'all would want to switch your board meeting to be an evening meeting. That way you can just do it during your regular board meeting, just have an evening meeting as opposed to having 2 meetings that day or what, but.
That would suit me.
I recommend we do that.
Which meeting, would you know what?
The September 9th meeting is a morning meeting, switching it to an evening meeting and letting us set that public hearing, because we have to put this on the trim notices, the public hearing date and time. So we would just put that for 6 o'clock, which would be your meeting. The other thing we have to do on that notice is also tell how people can participate. I don't know that we're gonna be in person at September 9th. I mean, I can put on the notice that it will be in person and go to meeting and cover the bases. Let y'all know, I mean, that's something we have to put on there. So if nothing else, if we do go to all in person and we put that on the notice, we will have to provide it, go to meeting also.
Sure. Okay. Does that suit everyone to move the September meeting to a night meeting, afternoon meeting?
I'm fine with it, Mr. Chair.
All right, that will be at 6 o'clock on the 9th. Okay, that covers us up. Mr. Attorney, do you have anything to bring to the board?
No, sir, not unless you have questions of me.
No, sir. Ms. Shirley, do you have anything from the manager's office?
They're all of them covered during the meeting.
Mr. Billy, do you have anything from the clerk's office?
I don't believe I do.
Okay. We're gonna start with the commissioner's comments. Commissioner Kelly?
I yield my time.
Yeah, man. Mr. Davis?
Just real quick, on the, budget workshop meeting today, of course, there apparently was some issues with some of the public being able to participate, on our road workshop. Shirley, is it any way possible to use the same go-to meeting ID and access for all of our meetings, whether it's a workshop, budget meeting, regular meeting? If we can do that, that just keeps it simple for everybody who has that access code and ID. That way they're not having to try to figure out which one that's been published out there. So if we can do that, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Moore?
Mr. Chair, just two things. I read an email from, recall where it came from concerning the census. Due to the pandemic, a lot of people might be a little bit reluctant to fill out that paperwork. I did mine several months ago, but anyway, it needs to be done, and we need to talk it up in our communities. And also, Mr. Eric Hearn over at Highway 221 and I-10, he said that he would be willing to serve on the Water Management District. I think there's an application that he has to fill out in order to send them in to be accepted. Is that how it works, Counselor?
Yes, sir, he has to file an application with the governor's office, and the governor's office, appoints, those boards. He's got a, and I don't know which, positions are open right now, you might want to take a look at that, because the way that's set up, you've got several that are at large, and then you've got several that are specific basins.
Okay.
And so you need to make sure that either an at-large position or your basin is open.
He will be replacing Al Alexander. I don't know what position Al had, or the person that's selected.
Yeah, and the thing with Al now, I don't know that they'd be in the same basin. They're where they live is pretty far apart, so you just need to check.
Okay.
We can look at it, but there's several seats open right now.
Right, well, he was going to go online and look at the application and fill it out.
Absolutely, and that's applied to the governor's office.
Right. We needed somebody from Madison County, my understanding.
I've submitted, to a few names, the information out to a few people in the community that if they wish to apply, they could.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I did, I don't know.
That's all I have.
Okay. Well, the other thing, says, I apologize, everybody that maybe is home listening doesn't realize that our air conditioner's not working, so it's been pretty warm in here. So, next meeting, I'll have the air conditioner working or cool water, one of the two. I do want to say, or both. One thing I do want to say, it come out in the paper and the internet that the city of Valdosta did their groundbreaking for their basin reservoir at the sewage plant. So they have started construction on that finally. So that's a big step in the right direction to help alleviate any future spills maybe up there. Other than that, I have nothing. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion.